Hey everybody, it's Crash Hardy here back with another pro wrestler interview, and today I have probably one of the most prolific wrestlers I've ever interviewed. Uh, he's held gold in not only WCW, but also WWE, ECW, and TNA. We have Raven with us today. Raven, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. So, are you ready to get into these questions?
Sure.
Alright, my first question here, let me just pull them up. Uh, My first question for you is who were you trained by and when did you decide to become a professional wrestler?
I was trained by Larry Sharp at the Monster Factory, except he didn't actually train me. He was away in Japan managing Bam Bam Bigelow. And so I was actually trained by Charlie Fulton, who was a journeyman wrestler, like a really, really talented journeyman wrestler.
I see. Well, early on in your career, you adopted a character in WCW by the name of Scotty Flamingo, who is notably a character you were not a fan of. And who was the person that gave you the Scotty Flamingo character?
It wasn't that I wasn't a fan of it. I didn't care one way or the other. Dusty gave me the character. I mean, I liked it. It was basically just the same as I was in Scotty the Body. Same
Ah,
basic character, just different name.
hmm. Well, so you left WCW for the first time because you had a disagreement with Bill Watts. Is that correct?
No, it's completely incorrect. Bill Watts let me go. He released me. I didn't have a disagreement with him. He released me, and because for whatever reason he didn't think I think he thought I was too small.
Hmm.
Because I was only 220 pounds, and I was like super small back then.
I see. Well, so you
And
briefly. Oh, go ahead.
no, that's fine.
Well, so you briefly worked for the USWA, but then you went to the WWF. So, what would you say your first meeting with Vince McMahon was like?
Uh, I don't really remember.
Yeah, I can't blame you. It's been a long time.
Wasn't that anything special? I mean, at the time it was, but they made me a manager at Johnny Polo, and I wasn't happy about that. But I wasn't going to argue because I wanted to stay in the business.
Yeah, that's fair. So you worked as a producer for a short time in WWE as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I was also an associate producer of Monday Night Raw, as well as the commentator, and the manager. And
So,
then they gave me an office in Titan Tower on the fourth floor across the hall from right across the floor from Pat and Bruce.
hmm, that's nice. So do you feel that your input was really used a lot on the show?
I was being groomed to be on the booking committee, but I was being groomed to be on the booking committee, and I was writing the second run TV shows like the magazine format shows, All
Mm-hmm.
American and Mania. So I wrote those shows. I ordered them and did the segments and all that crap.
I see. So you started out as a manager, and you say you weren't very happy about that.
Yeah, I didn't want to be a manager. I didn't
Uh,
get in the business to be a manager.
so is that the main reason you left, or is it just was it
Yeah,
your choice to leave?
yeah, yeah. I quit.
All right. Well, you made your ECW debut in 1995. How crucial do you think the character of Raven, as well as those rivalries with Tommy Dreamer and Sandman, were to the success ECW had?
Um, they would have been successful without me, but I was very influential on the show and very I was a big part of it. But I wasn't, the show would have went on fine without me. They didn't need me, but I definitely was a huge bonus to the show.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that. So whose idea was it for the Sandman feud to bring his family into it? Was it his?
I think so.
Hmm. So about the crucifixion angle, that was your idea.
Yeah.
So if that hadn't happened and Kurt Angle, I was actually brought into ECW, do you think he would have actually joined, or do you think he was just scouting?
No, no, he was just scouting. I don't think he would have joined.
Hmm.
He never watched wrestling before, so he didn't know, ECW was not what he was going to sign up for. It was way too much. It's way too much to be your first wrestling program to watch.
Yeah, I could see that being a bit much, especially for a guy who's as clean cut as Angle is.
Mm-hmm.
So did Paul Heyman? No, did Paul Heyman? I mean, sorry. Did he owe you any money?
No.
So all your checks cleared?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that's just something I managed to try to ask every ECW guy. When you returned to WCW, how nice was your new contract?
It was nice. Very nice.
What kind of money were you making?
Kind of personal, isn't it?
I suppose so. Yeah, you don't have to answer that. So, who was the one that decided to kind of turn your character into a spoiled brat rather than a edgy, kind of villainous character? Because they started doing these angles with you having like this fake mom who was like, oh, he didn't have a bad childhood at all, and they kind of had you and Sandman doing skits on TV. Who was that?
That was Bischoff.
That sounds about right.
He never got the Raven character. But it's, as I said to him, you don't have to get it. It's over. That's all that matters.
Yeah. I feel like you got stuck in the same position that Al Snow kind of did when he went to the WWF, because management didn't get the head thing, and they tried to do everything in the world to screw with it.
Mm-hmm.
So you came back to the WWF in 2000, and they immediately just kind of threw you with Taz. So was that kind of the first sign that you knew you weren't going to be booked the way you wanted to?
Yeah.
So how would you describe your time in the WWF as a nutshell? In a nutshell.
Very disappointing.
So what were some of the pitches you had for your time there?
I don't remember. I pitched a lot of stuff, but they were interested.
So, how many times did you actually win the Hardcore Championship? Because I've heard online that you've disputed that you've won it more times than they've actually credited you for.
Yeah, I've won it 39 times.
Wow. Okay, that's like over 10. That's like twice as much as they give you credit for.
Nah, it's about a third.
Ah. Well, speaking of the Hardcore Championship, you had one of my favorite Hardcore title matches in history against Kane and Big Show at WrestleMania 17. And during that match, you almost knocked the entire power out to the building. Is that correct?
Yeah, when we were driving the golf carts around, we were supposed to circle the whole building and have a chase around the whole building. But with Big Show choking me, I felt like I had to swerve a lot, like, it was throwing me off. And I tried to bang into the fence, but the fence wasn't locked down. And so I went off the edge of the sidewalk, and it nearly cut the wire. It cut one of the wires open. That was to the whole power to the whole building. And if I would have gone like a quarter inch further, it would have cut off all the power to the building. That would have been ridiculous.
Yeah, something tells me you might not have had a job after that.
Yeah, I'm sure I wouldn't have.
So, were there any talks of you trying to form a new stable in WWE, like the Ravens Flock or the Nest? No? Well, damn. So, after you left the WWE and TNA, you spent 7+ years with TNA, with moments like you becoming the NWA champion 3 times, you had your head shaved, and the Serotonin stable, which some people don't look back as fondly upon, but I thought it was alright. What would you say was your favorite moment from TNA?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I really don't know.
I'd say, did you enjoy your time with TNA? So you feel like
Yeah,
you're...
because I didn't want to end my career the way I ended it in WWE, so, they gave me a last run, so, that was good. Last run on TV.
Would you say your ideas were heard a lot more from TNA?
Well, a little bit. Definitely more, but not as much as I think they should have, but, it's not my company.
So, how did you feel when you were told you were being inducted into the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame?
Well, that's cool. In some ways, I felt like I should have been inducted sooner, and in some ways, I'm surprised they inducted me. So, cause it's kind of contradictory. But I'm glad they did. I feel like they only induct one person a year, and it's kind of, it's kind of big deal.
All right, so this one's kind of I'm asking for your response in a way. I interviewed Justin Credible a couple of weeks ago, and when we did name association, your name came up, and Justin Credible.
Mm-hmm.
And the first word that came out of his mouth to describe you was selfish. He said, "I like Raven, but I think he was kind of selfish," and he said that he thinks you would agree with him. What is your response to that?
I'm selfish?
That's what Justin Credible said.
That's all he had to say?
He said he likes you, but he said he thinks you're kind of selfish.
That's interesting.
I did tell him that I... What'd you say?
It's interesting coming from him, but that's neither here nor there. I mean, I can see why he would say that, I guess. Maybe not.
All right, I just wanted to bring that up. I told Justin I would probably say that to you. He said that, he likes you as a person, but he just thinks that's... He said his exact words were that "What about me? What about Raven?" isn't just a slogan. That's how he thinks. That's what he said about you.
Yeah. I guess he has entitled to his opinion.
All right. Well, I'm gonna move on to name association, if that's all right with you.
Mm-hmm.
My first name on the list is Stevie Richards.
Talented, very underrated.
All right. What about Tommy Dreamer?
Great guy.
New Jack.
Didn't know him that well, but he was over.
All right. Sandman.
Amazing.
The Blue Meanie.
Nice kid, nice guy, really nice guy.
Crash Holly.
Didn't know him that well, but it seemed like a great guy.
Rhino.
Amazingly talented.
Steve Blackman.
Didn't know him very well.
All right. Bob Holly.
Nice guy.
Adam Bomb.
Nice guy.
Jacques Rougeau.
Josh, I'll pass.
You'll pass?
Yeah, I don't really know Jock that well.
All right, that's fair. Rob Van Dam.
Great guy.
Paul Heyman.
Genius, wrestling savant.
AJ Styles.
Phenomenal.
Jeff Jarrett.
Very bright.
What'd you say?
Very bright.
Very bright. Okay. Chris Canyon.
Tragic.
Yeah, that's Definitely one way to put it. Sad that he's gone. Perry Saturn.
One of my best friends for all time. One of my all-time best friends.
Diamond Dallas Page.
Great guy. Instrumental in a couple points in my career.
This next one's pretty hard for most people to talk about, so if you don't want to say anything about him, that's perfectly fine. Chris Benoit.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything.
All right. Lodi.
Cody's amazing. He's another one of my best friends.
Sick Boy.
Very talented, underutilized.
Reese.
Just a genuinely nice guy.
Billy Kidman.
Amazingly talented.
Frankie.
Yeah, these aren't that interesting. I mean, did you want longer than just a couple words?
It's up to you, man. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah. All right.
Frankie Kazarian.
I like Frankie. I like Frankie a lot. He's a good guy.
Johnny Devine.
Underrated, underused.
Matt Bentley.
I haven't seen him in years. I think he hasn't been in the business in years, has he?
I haven't heard anything from him, so.
I liked him though when we were in the serotonin.
Chris Jericho.
Hilarious.
Bubba Ray Dudley.
Sweetheart. He's just a sweetheart, man. He's a big gruff bully, but he's a sweetheart inside.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I've heard he has a good side and a bad side, like most people. Devon.
Just another great guy.
All right, Spike Dudley.
Another great guy.
Taz.
I like Taz. I know a lot of people have their issues with him, but I like him, you know.
All right.
Okay,
Oh, go ahead.
That's it.
All right. Well, that's all I got for you. I was preparing for this interview to possibly be long because the other day I had an interview with Sean Stasiak and I only got to ask him like 3 questions because he just he gets going with his stories.
But, I used to be like that. I used to tell long stories, but now I just, I let people lead the conversation instead of me taking over. And I don't really like to talk about the other guy so much because it always ends up hurting somebody's feelings, and then you're going to hear back from, so I'm not as opinionated about those things as I used to be.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm not trying to cause any drama.
It's just, if you don't say, the less you say, the less drama, because, if I was going to, and it's like, depending on your audience, it can get misconstrued, it becomes clickbait, and, like just incredible, I think he's incredibly talented, and I'm a little surprised he said I'm selfish, because I've done a lot for him, but see, I don't want to go, if I'm going to start bringing that up, then I start telling people's business, it's not my, I don't want to be that guy anymore, I'm just not that guy. I mean, it's not that I don't want to be, I'm just not that guy anymore,
Yeah, I completely understand. I will ask one more question before we go that I forgot to ask you.
You paid your money, so ask as many as you want.
All right, well, the last question I have for you is, you changed your look around 2002, 2001-ish to, instead of the usual, like, band shirts and jean shorts, you started wearing a skirt and had braided hair. Was that your idea to change to that?
Yeah, I wanted to, because runs had played out, and I didn't want to be, looking. I didn't want to look like somebody who didn't change with the times. Like Madonna or David Bowie, they always change their looks with the times, and so it was time to change my look. Eventually, it was time to go back to it because my character became over to a point where they wanted the original character. That was what they liked the best, the original look. And it wasn't in the time frame, the time period was now looked back fondly as opposed to being out of style. There's a big difference between being out of style and being an original. You know what I mean? Like Ricky Morton still has the same hairdo that he had, same haircut that he had, in 1975 or whenever he started. And and it's mullety and it was spiky on the top, and but yet it's classic. Whereas for a time there was a period where it would have been considered outdated, but now it's gone past that because there's such legends in Robert that it's more classic as opposed to it's a classic look. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. So another question for you. So when you heard WWE was bringing back ECW as a third brand, what was your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I figured they did it for the same reason that they did do it, was they wanted to kill the brand off. They didn't like having, Vince didn't like having the company, people saying ECW at his shows, they didn't like him chanting other names. So I think they subtly tried to make the company look bad without just completely burying it completely, without making it obvious. Because I don't think most people realize that. And I think what they tried to do is they tried to get people to stop associating ECW with greatness.
So basically, yeah, it makes sense. So basically, you think if WCW hadn't ended the way it had, to where people weren't really clamoring for more of it, do you think he probably would have done the same thing with WCW? Well, I feel like WCW in its dying days was kind of ripped apart so much by Russo and Bischoff butting heads constantly, and the storylines just weren't really hitting so well. I feel like it didn't have the same following that ECW had.
ECW had a unique following though, and it was underrated. It was the underdog. It was the people's promotion. Because they played to the people. The reason ECW was able to come along was because the major companies, WCW and WWF, WWE, weren't giving the audience what they wanted. They were giving squash matches. They were giving matches when there were never any finishes because nobody wanted to do a job. And Paul Lee made sure every match had a finish. Every match was a clean finish. Somebody was hitting their finish to get the finish, or, very rarely there'd be a schoolboy or something, but never was there a non-finish. It's always a finish. And that was just one area. Plus, ECW revolutionized the sport with its hardcore style. Not that hadn't been done in other places, but not to the extreme that it had been done. They had more adult storylines, like me and the Sandman, taking his wife and kid. They had more intriguing storylines. Long-term storylines with long-term payouts, which most companies don't do. Or if they do, they don't do well, like the Black Scorpion storyline. Remember that? WCW?
Yeah, Ric Flair in a mask.
Yeah, but it was more than that. It was they kept picking different people to be it, and they kept changing their mind, and it never played out. And it just left the fans with a bad taste in their mouth, Whereas like me and Dreamer never beat me. A simple storyline, but it lasted. We made it pay off for it took 2.5 years or whatever to pay off. And frankly, they wouldn't even have paid it off then, except Paulie was afraid I would never come back, and he wanted Dreamer to get the win finally. But me and Dreamer didn't want to do it. Me and Dreamer wanted to keep him, still not, me leaving the company and him still not getting his win.
I see. So, would you say if you had like one more storyline in ECW to like cap things off, if you could pick anybody from that roster that you think you could have had a good storyline with, who do you think you could pick?
Not to brag, but not to humble brag, but I could have a good storyline with anybody. I recognize, like Paulie, I recognize the people's positives, and I know how to hide their negatives. So I would know what to play. So I know what to play to everybody's strengths, and I would make up a storyline that was conducive to that. It doesn't really matter. My character any character can basically play off of anybody else, but it's the amount, it's how well they do it and how clever they do it. How clever can you make the storyline?
I see what you're saying.
But Paulie wasn't happy with me at the end of my run to ECW because I was complaining. I just wanted to move on, go to WWE, and thought I was going to get a run there, and so I pissed him off, and he wasn't happy. And it took us a couple of years until we became friends again, and. But yeah, I treasure my friendship with Paul. I don't see him very often, but when I do, it's always great seeing him. I don't see Paulie, like I understand Paulie's negatives, and I understand why people get mad at him and stuff like that, or why they have a problem with him. But I just take that as his flaws. Everybody has flaws. I got tons of flaws. Oh my God, I'm so flawed, it's ridiculous.
Well, I'm glad that you guys have a good relationship, at least, So, my next question is that the rumor is, with your departure from WCW, is that Eric Bischoff held a big talent meeting and basically said that if anybody wanted their release, to just say it and he would let them go. And you were the only one that stood up. Is that right?
Yeah, that's true.
All right, I just wanted to confirm that. I didn't know if that was true or not.
Yeah, that was true. I wasn't happy with the way it was being used because I felt like I should be used on top, and I was only being used the card, you can break it down into the bottom, the middle, and the top, and you can break each section down from the bottom of the bottom, the middle of the bottom, the top of the bottom, the bottom of the middle, middle of the middle, and the top of the middle, and the bottom of the top, middle of the top, and the top of the top. And you can break it down like that. And I was in the top of the middle, but I felt like I should be at least in the bottom of the top. Me, Jericho, Conan, all three of us. That's why, Jericho left, that's why Saturn left, Benoit left, all those guys left.
Yeah, and then Douglas was going to leave, but then the rest of them kind of ditched him because they thought he was going to cause problems.
Yeah, something like that. I forget. It's been over 20 years.
Yeah.
It's a long time. But it's obviously such a fascinating time. People are still talking about it,
So you came up with the concept of Raven, is that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Diamond Dallas Page was the one who kind of helped encourage you to get that character on TV, is that right?
He pointed me in the direction. He goes, look at the way you look. I always wear like a leather jacket with ripped up jean shirt, with ripped up jeans, and Doc Martin boots. He's like, you look like one of those alternative freaks. That's what you should be. And I thought about it, and I decided to take it to the degree I took it to. Raven's an extension. He's not me exactly. He's a part of me. But he's me inflated, 50 times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All my negative qualities. Some of my worst qualities.
I mean, at least you're not being like Ultimate Warrior and trying to be the guy 24/7. That's where it gets concerning. But Well, Raven, I'd like to thank you for your time today. That's all I've got for you. Is there anything you'd like to promote?
Just my podcast, the Raven Effect podcast. You can get it wherever podcasts are listened to. Um, we don't really talk about wrestling, though. We talk about everything but wrestling because I've talked enough about wrestling for 30 plus years. So the last thing I'm going to talk about is wrestling. But occasionally it'll sneak in. I guess we're wrestling adjacent. We're a wrestling adjacent podcast.
I see. Well,
We're not wrestling per se, we're wrestling adjacent. We're near wrestling because I'm, a wrestler. And the two guys I do it with, they both love wrestling. One's a commentator and one's a podcast host. I mean, a podcast, technician, owner of a podcast, couple companies, couple podcasts, and so they love wrestling, so they try and sneak it in occasionally, but like mostly we just talk about whatever we talk about. It's like listening to a bunch of friends having a personal conversation, and it's basically really funny. That's the key. It's got to be funny or it's not interesting to me.
let's see. Well, Raven, thank you for your time. I had a blast with you.
Yeah.
All right, I'll let you go.
All right, hey, listen, are we off the air now?
We can be. Just a second. All right, folks, that was my interview with Raven. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to subscribe, then you can see my videos whenever they come out. I mean, you can see them anyway, but you'll see them sooner. And if you hit the notification bell, you will be informed whenever I upload. Thank you for watching. If you got any wrestlers you would like me to interview in the future, let me know in the comments below. Or if you just want to say what you think about the interview, leave a comment. Alright, talk to you guys later, and I will see you in the next episode.